Welcome to today's Tech Tuesday session on Microsoft Teams. Again, my name is Rafael Supa. I'm the manager of the O365 messaging and collaboration teams with ITS, and been working with the products for almost 2 years now. So I'm helping to deploy it and obviously to teach the community and to spread the word about Teams. So again, thanks for hopping on today's session. So what we'll cover today in the agenda is just a quick run through of what Microsoft Teams is in general. We'll go through some of the Teams features that will be some of the the top features that will be useful to you in your day-to-day work. We'll also cover where to go for further help, and as Vanessa said, there's going to be a Q&A sessions where all the questions that you guys drop into the chat will be answered either during the session, or we'll definitely save time afterward. So to get right into it, what is Microsoft Teams? So in short, Microsoft Teams is just another service that's part of our general O365 cloud suite of applications with Microsoft. So in reality, it's really Microsoft's latest version of Skype for Business. Skype for Business has been around for a while, and we've had it here in the environment with some usage, but Microsoft has been upgrading it and kind of encouraging everyone to go to Microsoft Teams instead. It's got a ton more features, more usability, more collaboration, and it's the version that they want to focus on. So it is a great tool, as the slide says. It's a kind of like a centralized hub for team, group collaboration and chat. It's part of O365, so it's something that we already have and own as part of our agreement, very similar to your email and other services. And, enables you to quickly chat with peers or groups, collaborate on files as we'll get into, and stay engaged and so on. So again, as I mentioned, Teams should make it easier to collaborate in real time with either your direct work group, which is great, or partners that are not in your work group, or even maybe outside of the company, and we'll get into that as well. Again, Microsoft Teams inherits all the IM functionality from Skype for Business, and as I mentioned, it's the newest version of Skype for Business, collaboration functionality. And as a matter of fact, one important note that I have to make now is that we've decided to sort of finish our onboarding and migration to Microsoft Teams from Skype. So June will be the last month that Skype for Business will be active in our environment. So if you do happen to be a Skype user still using Skype here and there, definitely encourage you to hop on Teams. Everyone is already enabled for Teams by default. So we'll go through how to get it, how to sign on, and if you need help or have any trouble with that, how to make that move. Otherwise, there's going to be a little bit of further communications in the next week or two about the final migration and the final push, and we will do our best to help everyone move over from Skype to Teams if that's still needed. Microsoft Teams is persistent. It transitions all your conversations between that desktop, mobile device, and web. So, if you're on the run, you can take conversations with you and pick them up wherever you left off. And as I mentioned, you're able to start using Teams without any special ITS intervention. By default, everyone has already been enabled for Teams. All new users, as they start, are enabled for Teams. All you have to do is just sign on. All right, how to get Teams. So you can install Teams depending on your platform. If you have a Windows PC or laptop, it's part of IBM BigFix, so you can get it through the BigFix self-service application store. Similar for Mac, it's part of the Jamf self-service application area. And you can also install it on mobile devices. So for Android, it's the Play Store, and for iOS, it's the App Store. And you can just search for Microsoft Teams and go ahead and install. It's going to only ask you for your Weill Cornell email and password. And once you do sign on, you should be prompted for a Duo authentication as well. So you will have to answer the Duo challenge, and then you'll be able to sign in just like you do for email on a device. All right, I'm gonna pause there just for a sec. Vanessa, is everything okay as far as voice or any special questions?
No questions yet, and everything is coming in very clear.
Okay, thank you. All right. The quickest way to get to Teams is, like I said, to go right through your O365 web landing page for your O365 web applications. So again, if you just go through o365.med.cornell or one of the other shortcuts you have, Teams will be just one of the apps, one of various apps that's listed as part of your O365 service. And this will allow you to launch the web version of Teams, which is pretty much full featured. There's only a couple of features that don't work through the web version. You know, sometimes it's video, sometimes voice calls. It kind of depends on your browser and PC. But most of the functionality is the same in Teams Web as it is the full client. And again, once you launch into Teams on the web, there will be pointers there where you can actually download the full application as well. So with that, let me show that to you and just jump right into the tour, the demo. So I'll stop sharing this screen and just bear with me for 1 second. I'm going to share my web application screen. As I mentioned here, I've already logged into o365.com. I logged in with my Weill Cornell password, and I see my applications. Teams is one of them. I can click into it from here, and what I get is the web application, which looks, pretty much like a full-featured application. And I believe if I click on my profile icon in the upper right-hand corner, I can go ahead and download the desktop app from here, or also get pointers on where to get the mobile app. So that is the web application version. I'm going to actually stop this share, and I want you to do the demo through the full application version. So I'll stop this. That's just in case we do run into any functionality issues that may be limited. I wanted to show the full version and not run into that. So let me just share my screen again.
Hey, Rafael, while you're pulling up the new screen share, we got a question from James asking, what happens if someone wants to use Skype for Business to communicate with you?
If someone wants to use Skype for Business to communicate with you while you're on Teams, perhaps, or vice versa?
Yeah.
So yeah, it depends where the other user is, in their organization. If they're internal to Weill Cornell, basically part of the same environment that we're upgrading right now, that version to version functionality I think should still work, although the Skype user will get a banner at the top saying that, hey, your company is moving over to Teams, and try to encourage you to basically switch, but the chat should still work. But again, that's kind of a more of a limited time until the end of June. We're transitioning in early July to be fully on Teams. If it's someone outside the organization, then it kind of depends on their settings as well, because we're going to be what they call full or native Teams mode soon. So it's going to depend on, the mode that they're on. I can't really say for sure, but it should work, to some level of kind of interoperability. Okay, so I just switched to my full Teams application here. This is a demo account, and this is just the basic screen. And when you first log in as a new user, you may not see too much, or it may not be too much activity just yet, as you're sort of building your presence and you're being invited or joined to various teams and chats. That's going to start building out. But you know, maybe one of the first things that I want to do, which I was doing in Skype before, was just chat, right? Chatting with peers. So the way we can do that in Teams is to start a chat in a couple of different ways. The easiest is the new chat shortcut icon, and I can just search for a user here, a colleague, and I'll choose Vanessa in this case. We already have a chat going, so it picked up that previous chat, which is convenient because you don't lose your chat history. So I'm gonna just write Vanessa a new message, and she should see it and reply. All right, cool. And one of the nice parts is about Teams chat is that there are a bunch of options at the bottom here. So for example, I can go into what they call a rich text mode, which allows me to create text in sort of a you know, just rich formatting basically. So I can do bold, I can do highlights, different colors, change the paragraph, indentation, and so on. So there's a bunch of things I can do here. The importance of the message. I can attach files, attach emojis and different reactions. They also have obviously some fun stuff, you know, for us as well. So GIFs and various memes, stickers. I can even get into schedule a meeting right from a shortcut button here, which will pull up calendar availability, and on and on. There's a bunch of stuff here. And to send the message, I can click enter, or I can just hit the send button. So that's basic chat. If you look across the top, we also have a tab for files, organization, activity, and so on. So these are just different features that are available in a one-to-one chat. For example, whatever files we share will go into the files area, a tab, and in the background.
Hey, Rafael, your voice just cut off if you are still presenting.
That Vanessa knows how to do or whatnot. Just a note about the calls, the video calls and the voice calls. In our case, would be using just voice over IP. So that's a true kind of internet call. It's not a PSTN or telephone number dialing call at this time, but it's just sort of like an ad hoc voice over IP, voice over. Hey, you know, we're talking about an issue that requires further expertise. We can add and we have add there's another feature that they've just kind of switched to chatting in this ability to pop out a window, I find is pretty helpful in that you can, obviously pop the window out, and as you work on other windows and other things within Teams, you can go back to that window. It'll just be a different window that you can, stack or organize as you have, various things going on. So that's just when chat window pop out, which is a new feature that they introduced. Okay, so that's just the ability to carry on chat, similar to how we did it in Skype for Business. The other, great thing that you can do in Teams is obviously to create your own work group or a team, for lack of a better word, right? So you can create your own team, and that is so that you can build your work group, whether that's your department or specific project group or whatever that may be, and that's going to be your collaboration group, right? So at the top level, it's going to be the team. So let me just go through that and how we can set that up real quick.
Hey, Rafael, we just had a question about whether you can delete a chat.
I'm sorry, say again?
We just got a question about whether you can delete chats.
Oh, okay, yeah, great question. So when you're in a chat, it's actually not easy to delete a chat, but what I can do is I can hide it. So, for example, if I don't want to see that anymore, I can hide it, but for some reason they don't have the ability to delete. And I don't know if that has to do with, the fact that there's, multiple members and, people on the other side of the chat that may not want it deleted, but on your side, at least you can hide it. And while I'm here, thanks for that. You can pop it out from here as well. And there's other things you can do, such as pin it. So, as that list gets longer, you can pin it to the top, so you can always get to that chat a little bit easier without having to search for it. Favorites, you can mute it so you don't get notifications and alerts for that specific chat, and so on. So yeah, thanks for that question. So to create a new team, I should be in my Teams area here on the left side navigation. So currently it's going to show the teams that I'm in right now. So my demo account is already in the overall WCM ITS team, which I can see here. And I can see some various channels. These are the channels under that team, and they'll have various notification decorations and stickers on them, just relating to what goes on in that channel, right? If maybe my name has been mentioned or an important message has been posted to that channel, they will be decorated with these specific icons. To create a new team, by the way, this is something that everyone can do. Everyone has the ability to create a team. So, so feel free to go ahead. We just ask that the team names follow some sort of standard. So for example, if you're working on a project, you may want to prefix the team name with PRJ dash, or if it's for a specific department, give it a department name and some sort of purpose, because once we start getting too many names that may be too short or not descriptive, it becomes a little bit ambiguous, with some of the team naming. So definitely encourage, names to be descriptive for your purpose. So again, when I go to join or create a team, I see a limited set of teams which are available, and that's just because most of the teams that people create are private, so you will not see them here. Teams that are shown here are public, and you could join them if you'd like, but I have a feeling that may just be an error on that owner's part. I feel like most people want to create a private team for their work group. So I would go ahead and click on Create Team, and from here, I do get a choice of options of different flavors of team type I can create. Because we're an educational institution, this is driven by our license type for teams. So we can have teams that are more tailored to, let's say, a class setting or a professional learning community, or specific to school staff. And what that means is that's just going to create a specific layout for the team. And for example, make the team have a specific, maybe a OneNote notebook that's best for sharing with students or things like that. So it's really kind of an academic flavor of different types of teams. In our cases, we find that if we do other sort of an all-purpose, team that's good, and you can always tweak it and tailor it by adding, features and tabs, which we'll get into in a few minutes, to tailor the team as you see fit. So let's give the new team a name. I'll call it Tech Tuesday Prep. You can give it a description if you like. And this is where you can control the private or public setting for your team. So again, if you do public, it's going to be listed in that landing page when people go to join or create teams, and that'll allow pretty much anyone to ask to join your team. So you may not want that, if you don't want that and want to make it private for your department or specific project, you can leave it as private and click next. And the system will start creating the team. And right from there, you can start adding members to the team. Yourself as the team owner or creator are already there by default. You only have to add the other folks. So in this case, we're presenting with Vanessa and Bridget. So for the purpose of this example, I'll add them both. And I would click on close. Just one thing that I want to note about membership and adding folks. We get a lot of questions about collaboration with outside partners. For example, NYP folks, Columbia folks, or outside institutions in general. And the short answer is that yes, that is possible. We have set up some default relationship and teams. So for example, NYP, Columbia, MSKCC, etc. We already have an approved list of their domains. So in other words, I can just type in one of their emails and they will be added as a guest to my team. So the answer is yes, we can add certain outside parties to our teams as guests by using their email in this process. Other institutions that are not on the list could be added. There is a request process for that. So the request would be reviewed by our security folks and this project team, and they typically would get back to you. And typically it's not a problem. So I'll just go ahead and click on close here. And I have my new team. So Tech Tuesday Prep is the team. General is the basic, kind of default channel that it gets created. All right, and I'm just going to send a test message. So Vanessa and Bridget, let me know, guys, if you got that. So, all right, great. So now I have my basic new team, which is kind of my work group and default channel under that team. So general just means, like I said, the basic default channel, and there's certain things you can do with that. You can change the channel notifications, pin, manage channel, get the email address, and so on. Because yes, you can actually send an email to a channel. But let's say Tech Tuesday Prep is a little bit general for me. It's a little bit vague. Let's say that I want to have a discussion about finances related to the Tech Tuesday program. Let's say, for an example, right? I can go ahead and click on add channel and give that a name. Topic name, channel name, finance only. And here again, I have a area for privacy. So this is also a new feature. In the older days of Teams, all channels were standard, meaning that everyone who's a member of the team itself in general will be able to see what goes on in this new channel. But now they brought in a feature where you can make a new channel private and add only certain people. So sort of kind of limit visibility into a new channel to a subset of the users, within that team. So that's just good to know in case there are any privacy concerns for specific channels. But in this case, we'll leave it as standard and add. Okay, and now I have a channel called Finance Only, and the way this stuff is organized is that, again, the team is sort of your work group at the high level, your workspace, and the channels are more conversations, I guess you could think of, and individual conversations to be broken down into specific topics. If those topics really do deserve their own space and it gets confusing, go ahead and create channels for them. It's going to serve you well to break down the conversation and keep everything organized and streamlined. Okay, I will pause there real quick. Vanessa and Bridget, let me know if there's any specific questions. I do see the activity light.
Yeah, we actually just got one about from Jennifer about how to manage people in the team. Like, can you delete them? Do you have to generate a new team without the person if you want to remove them? So how would you manage anybody who's in the team?
Okay, that's a great question. So here I am at the the team level, my new team, and let's say I do want to manage something regarding the team. I would go to the ellipses menu, the three dots, and from there I can go ahead into manage. I could have also done that from up here, by the way, as well, wherever you see the ellipses next to the team name. So from here, I can see all the members. If this was a long list, I could search for members. I could see who the owner of the team is. That's my demo account and the members. I can change the role of members. Let's say I would like to make Bridget an owner as well. As a matter of fact, make everyone as owners so they can manage the team. Now they're all owners, or I could undo that. From there, I could also, I believe, remove the member. Well, now that there are owners, I cannot remove them. But if there were any guests in the team, outside parties, I would see that down here as well. I would see any pending requests to join the team. I see information about the channels in the team, including any channels that may have been recently deleted. If a channel is deleted, I can get it back within a certain time, as long as it's in this deleted channels area. And different settings for the team overall, right? So I can add a team picture if I like, to kind of customize my team a little bit more. I could change the member permissions to sort of guide users in what they are allowed to do within the team. If I want to control that a little bit more, maybe the team's a little bit rowdy or whatever, just give people more of a guideline on team behavior, and so on. Control some of the fun stuff that could go on. So all these settings for the team and channel are in the manage team area.
Hey, if the original owner leaves the team, so you're the original owner, if you leave, does the team carry on with the other owners, is what the question was.
Okay, so yes, I mean they can, as long as there are multiple, as long as there's multiple owners. If there's, for example, if team's demo gets fired today for some reason, that account would be disabled, but you, Vanessa, and Bridget are still owners, so you can carry on managing that team. Could be a case where the team has only one owner, and that if that person moves on or whatever happens, that would require a call to the service desk to change the ownership of that team. So that could be done, yes. And, you know, speaking of that, by the way, there's a kind of a life cycle policy on teams in general as well. So, you know, let's say you create a team for a project and kind of, you know, finish that, folks walk away from it, and that team kind of sits unused for a while. So there is a 6-month policy where if a team is otherwise untouched for 6 months, there will be an email a couple weeks before that, just warning the owner that the team has not been used and will be removed shortly. And, you know, if there's no response and no further action within that team, it does get cleaned up from the system. It could still be retrieved after 30 days, within 30 days, but just wanted to let you guys know that there is sort of an automated cleanup process that should work for teams that have, you know, no usage whatsoever within a certain period. Okay, so we talked about managing a team. If I wanted to invite others, again, I could do it from here, or I can do it right from either manage team or add member. And this would work for internal folks as well as, like I said, if you have external folks that you would like to invite, just use their external emails. Just wanted to talk real quick about the application overall and some of these other tabs. So for example, the activity tab and so on. So this is just going back to kind of general usage and customizing of teams. So the default view is what's called the feed, which is sort of all the information that goes on within your chats and teams that you're in, so all the communication. You can tailor that to choose my activity only. So for example, stuff that only you contributed or wrote, that'll be my activity only. Or you can further filter it down by only at mentions or reactions or things like that. So there's further ways of filtering that information. Just looking at the top here. So again, this is your new chat area shortcut icon. You can also start a new chat by going into this part here, which is sort of a general search bar. So for example, I can search for Vanessa's name here as well, and I can, you know, just look up the name and start a chat from here. But this search also lets me to search any keyword, you know, so any words, any information from previous chats within private chats or channels. If, for example, if there was a topic that I wanted to go back to and I can't find, I can search a keyword here and it'll look through all those chats. You can also do certain commands which are helpful. So for example, slash as a way of doing shortcuts. You can set yourself as busy, start a call, do not disturb, etc. What's new in Teams, stuff like that. Similar, you can also do at, and there's a shortcut for something called praise, which is just kind of a cool, fun feature where you can give coworkers praise for something they've done if you want to call them out. And other integrations will be here as well. So that's the search bar. Just moving over to my profile icon here. Again, I'm getting more information on the team information and my status. So currently I'm listed as available, and I can manually change this to busy or do not disturb. This status gets set automatically sometimes. For example, if you're in a meeting, you'll be listed as busy or in a meeting, or if you're presenting like I am now through my other, my other account, it would be do not disturb, or you can do be right back, etc., or reset the status. If you're out of office, it will read the calendar information from your Outlook calendar, and it will note that you are actually out of office with your out of office message being appended to your status so other people can see. And you can manually set a status message here as well. You can get to any saved messages. Settings is where you can control your general settings. For example, your theme being dark or high contrast. The layout for teams could be a grid, or it could be a list as I have it set up, and how your application acts on startup and close and things like that. So that's all in general. Privacy, to control your do not disturb settings or block certain contacts. And kind of importantly, notifications. You know, when you start off with Teams, you may notice that the notifications may be a little bit busy. So you can go in here and change those. Banner is typically the stuff that pops up, you know, in Windows, if you have Windows near your clock area. So that's going to be like the Windows pop-up banner. Sometimes you may not want that, you know, if you're presenting especially, right? You may only want to change that to show only in feed. So this is the area to change all that. Okay. Let me go back to the team, and just to kind of round off talking about the Teams interface and area. So again, this is my team here with Vanessa and Bridget, and from here within the team, I can also start if I wanted a Meet Now meeting. So it could be a video meeting, and that would be with that'll automatically invite the participants in that team and channel. So if it's a large group, you know, just keep in mind it may be a lot of people that are in that meeting, but again, that's sort of like a voice over IP, video over IP instant meeting that you could do, similar to Zoom. Up here is what they call the tabs. So here we're in post, which is just the chat for that team. You can also see any files that may have been shared within the you know, collaboration and the chats of that work group. So those will be placed here if you ever need to go back to them. And you can also add other tabs, right? Because this is O365, there's integrations with other apps. So for example, I can post an Excel document or a OneNote notebook, which is helpful for maybe, you know, taking notes within that team. You know, as you collaborate, you want to share specific notes, PowerPoint, SharePoint, etc. So tons of apps. Sometimes we get questions about other apps that are not listed here. You know, to add integrations, there is a request process where you could add. You could ask for additional integrations, and they would be reviewed, and if possible, you know, we would make those available to you as well. So, you know, so this is basically adding tabs for applications that could be integrated right into your team as a new tab. Go back to post. So again, just to round things off, that was my Teams area. Calendar is also something that's available, and that purely pulls information from your Outlook calendar. So it's right now it's black for me. It's my demo account. I don't have anything scheduled, but for a real person, this would pull everything from my Outlook calendar, and I can actually schedule a new meeting here, which sometimes is more streamlined, you know, without jumping back to Outlook. So I can do a new meeting right from this interface, right from here, and add folks and locations. So, you know, if you end up working more within Teams, you may not have to switch back and forth to Outlook as much, and that's the point. Calls is just, you know, for most folks, this would be, you can make calls, but it'll be like the calls I mentioned before, kind of voice over IP, not true telephony calls just yet. And files, which will list all your recent files that have been either shared by you or shared with you. Again, this is tied back to either your OneDrive or SharePoint if you've shared within a team that's stored in our backend SharePoint repository. And again, application integrations. So that is pretty much it. That's a quick run through. I just want to be mindful of time. You know, Vanessa and Bridget, I know it's 12:40. Just wanted to leave a few minutes for additional questions.
We got a lot of questions, and actually I think this one popped up because your audio went out very slightly at one point, and I don't think people heard about the video chat option. Can you I know that you just showed how to do it in a team to start a meeting that includes video chat, but can you just point out one more time how to get to video chat, or to get to the video meeting from a chat, just so people can see?
Oh, okay. So sure. So for example, right now, in our 3-person chat, right? Myself, you, and Bridget. So I would just go to either the audio call if I want just a pure audio call, or a video call, the video call button in the upper right, or I can just share my screen, or both, right? We can be in a video call, and then I could share my screen if we wanted to talk about something that I'm working on. So that's how that works, you know, within a chat. And within a team, I'm pretty sure it's possible as well. So you would just use the icon here, which is Meet Now. And
What would be, we did get a question earlier on, it was James who had asked, what would be the difference between using Teams versus Zoom for some of the meeting functionality? When should you use which application?
Okay, yeah, that's a great use case question. So obviously, you know, Zoom is our main service for scheduled meetings and conferences. And, you know, I think that's the guidance, right? Is that if you have an upcoming planned meeting that you want to schedule down the road with other participants, inside or outside of Weill Cornell, right? You want to keep using Zoom for that. That's the right tool. But if I'm just kind of communicating on the spot, collaborating, you know, in an ad hoc sort of fashion right there, I may find it more convenient and quick to, you know, hey, I don't really feel like scheduling a whole Zoom meeting, feeling kind of lazy. I can just click on the video button if I just want to meet with Vanessa or, you know, anyone that I'm talking to right now. So it's more for on the spot, I would say.
Thank you for answering that one. We had a question from Edwin about asking whether teams can be merged.
2 different teams, like if you have 2 different similar teams and want to merge them into, yeah, unfortunately, you know, no, there's no tool available to kind of, you know, merge all the data and the background stuff for 2 different teams or migrate, you know, it's just because each team is really a group that has a lot of stuff in the background, like, you know, SharePoint, OneNote, you know, calendar and different things. So there's a lot of resources that would have to be merged. So there's no tool for that yet. It would have to be, you know, create a new one and kind of manually move files or whatever you need over to a new team.
Veronica asked, is there a way to organize files in the File tab?
So let's take a look. So if I'm in, I'll look through the Teams interface as opposed to chat, because I think that's a little bit more, you know, typically permanent, right? So if we did have files here, and I apologize, I should have posted some as an example, but the files and folders will be listed here. And if you want to organize them, then I would go ahead and click on Open in SharePoint. And once you do that, you would get a new kind of web browser window that shows all the files and folders in the SharePoint view. That I find makes it easier to create new folders and drag and drop and organize files that way. So yes, not maybe directly through here, but if you go ahead and open in SharePoint, then yes.
We had a question from Eugene. He says, I know Teams works with OneDrive and SharePoint. Is it possible to work with WCM managed storages?
Okay, yeah, I think we saw an email question from Eugene on that as well, and we're going to reply to you, Eugene, shortly. Just bear with us, but you know, that is not something on the horizon. You know, the default storage for Teams, as you noted, is OneDrive and SharePoint, and they're really the same thing. It's really just SharePoint. in that, that's in O365 Cloud. There is an option to add storage integration. I think Box is something that we may look at, but I have not heard of any, other storage, any kind of wild kernel specific storage besides that.
I don't see any additional questions in the chat. I think we got through all of them. But in case anyone does have any questions after this, this session is recorded and we'll be sending out some helpful links, about what Rafael's spoken about today and how to use Teams in general. So expect that either by the end of today or tomorrow morning. I'll have it ready for you guys. But Rafael, thank you so much for taking us through an overview of Teams. And I don't know if there's anything else you want to say before we head out or anything like that.
Oh, no, absolutely. Thank you guys for the time. Thanks for everyone for joining. We appreciate everyone being interested in Teams. Again, like you said, Vanessa, Teams help is available. You can get it either through the Microsoft, support.office.com website. Feel free to join the service teams or the Teams help channel and teams within the actual application. So there's a Teams help team, or feel free, of course, as always, to open a service desk through my help desk or by calling the service desk with any questions, and they typically get routed to us, and we love to get back to you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much and have a great day. Thanks again, Rafael and Bridget.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Take care, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.